found in possession of drugs worth 800,000 rand in his hotel room on Monday. Members of JMPD's Technical Response Unit and the Hawks arrested him at the hotel where 5 kilograms of crystal meth were found. Another suspect who booked the room was also handcuffed. Lauren Singh reports.
2 suspected drug dealers will this morning appear before the Hillbrow Magistrates Court. The men were arrested at the Houghton Hotel, a 5-star resort in Joburg's plush suburb of Houghton on Monday. JMPD spokesperson Bongani said
the male occupant of the room was found in possession of approximately 5 kilograms of an illicit drug known as crystal meth. The occupant then identified another male individual who was located at the hotel's restaurant. The room was rented under this individual's name.
EWN understands one of the accused had been staying at the hotel for months prior to his arrest. In a statement to EWN, Houghton Hotel management say they are aware of the arrests, but due to ongoing investigations, would not comment further. Orenson, Eyewitness News.
Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says the municipality might soon be able to supply floods and fire building kits again. These resources and funds were centralized nationally a few years ago. The latest devastating fires and floods in the Western Cape have highlighted the urgent need for building material. Belongings over the past 3 days because of the extreme weather conditions.
Historically, the CT provided building kits for victims of fires. However, Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says the kits are not funded by them anymore, but by national government with the National Emergency Housing Grant. He says before funds can be released, municipalities must apply to the National Human Settlements Department first.
It's not the case that the city discontinues those. It is the case that across the country, cities are no longer allowed to access that grant controlled centrally and nationally.
The mayor says an agreement has been reached recently for the municipality to access the funds to buy the material and store it for future disasters. Lutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
Some businesses in Zimbabwe have been rejecting the country's new gold-backed currency, the ZiG. Some commuters were left stranded at Harare public transport operators, or as operators there refuse to accept the currency. They have instead charged a pricey flat fare requiring the use of the US dollar. The Zimbabwe gold officially started trading on Monday, just days after it was announced it would replace the Zimbabwean dollar. But many in the country were not ready for the switch. AFP is reporting that most banks had their systems offline yesterday as they worked to transition them to ZiG. And US President Joe Biden has called for a 6 to 8 week ceasefire in the conflict between Israel and Hamas to allow aid into Gaza. Biden was speaking during a television interview with Spanish network Univision, which was broadcast today. The US President was commenting on a question about a recent deadly strike on a World Central Kitchen convoy in Gaza, where foreign aid workers were killed. Biden says this attack by the Israeli forces has prevented access to much-needed aid.
Everyone from the Saudis to the Jordanians to the Egyptians, they're prepared to move in, prepared to move this food in. And I think there's not provide for
like mine's the best uniform ever.
You're the best.
How for that goal? You're
the best.
Na metric away a PNG. Wabona, electrometric.
Took more than 250 others hostage.
The best.
And have killed more than 3,000 Palestinians. Gold is trading at $2,354.91 an ounce. The rand
Yeah, it's every year. It's right. That's right. My uniform is a good colon that looks should be clear.
Affected by the sea while traveling in Saudi and other accident reported. It's only M2 waste near Elof Street also causing delays. In your sport, 10 goals in the Champions League as Arsenal finished 2 with Bayern and Real held City for York. Banyana's goal escape as Nigeria beat South Africa misses out the Paris Olympics. And the Proteas women ODI with Sri Lanka rained out. Tasman Brits knock up 160 in Bay.
A fine day in store for Gauteng, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon today. Johannesburg is at a low of 7 degrees, peaking at 24. Pretoria 10 and 25, Vereeniging 6 and 25 as well. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: the Limpopo Chicken party is calling for IEC Commissioner Janet Love to step down following an electoral court ruling in Jacob Zuma's favor.
Eyewitness News, In Touch, Independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or the new EWN app.
Current events. Stories. Tough questions. Your voice. Making a difference.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
8 minutes after 7 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Breakfast. Listen, it's an election year, so there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be unexpected. But my goodness. Wow. What a wow. That decision by the electoral court on Jacob Zuma's eligibility to run for parliament. Do you think the IEC will appeal? Do you think the IEC should appeal? Would that throw a spanner in the works? When we actually then do go to polls? Because all of these things have a knock-on effect.
Why is that, Barry?
I initially really seriously thought of it.
Yes, the Constitution, Section 47, is very clear. If you've been found guilty of an offence, you're sentenced to 12 months or longer without the option of a fine, you're ineligible. It has to last 5 years. So the judges ask lots of tough questions, and they said, hang on. How long does the 5 years, when do we start counting? Because it says 5 years after the completion of the sentence. When did he complete the sentence? What does this mean for Jacob Zuma and the Umkhonto Wesizwe party? That's something we are going to be picking up.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Streaming
Barcelona, Nyataza, and the
things you need to know at this hour. It was on this day in 1967. American singer and songwriter Marvin Gaye recorded his version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. The song was first recorded by Miracles. It's also been sung by Gladys Knight and Pips. I told you earlier, today is International Day of Pink. It really focuses on awareness, particularly in the fight against bullying when it comes to members of the LGBTQI+ community, discrimination, homophobia, transphobia, and trans misogyny across the world. Security on high alert when it comes to Champions League games in Europe after a reported threat from the Islamic State. UEFA issuing a statement saying that it's aware of these threats, but the games in Madrid, Paris, and London this week will go ahead as planned. Today marks the 31st anniversary of the death of Mosala, one of the most prominent South African Protea Party leaders. The struggle's Stalwart was assassinated outside his house in Dawn Park in 1993. Today, the SACP will be hosting the 31st Chris Hani annual commemoration at the Thomas Titus Gobi Memorial Park Cemetery. His family, the SACP, and COSATU are expected to be on the list of speakers. And today is the 65th birthday of the man I so many other hits.
Tagazi. Uyabona ukuthi akazi na. Phela umuntu angaya.
It's not like I don't know it, I don't know how to explain it. I'm looking for like a proper
Love to You, written by Babyface. There are so many hits this man wrote. Madonna's Take a Bow, Johnny Gill's My.
woken up in my room. Tony Braxton, you're making me high. The song from Mama, Boys to Men. Mary J. Blige, Not Gonna Cry. Whitney Houston, Why Does It Hurt So Bad? Creep by TLC. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Having looked at some of their biggest hits, Boyz II Men turned around and said they don't need Babyface. I haven't had a single hit since then. Turns all of 65, was born on this day, 1959.
Morning, Bongani, on the Babyface, that I think well done, summed it up so well. In terms of giving him recognition for his contribution to the music industry. I had the same thoughts this morning, that he was very low level, not much recognition. And I think he did well, and for some reason, I don't know why he's never made the spotlight in terms of the contribution in such a big way.
Yeah. Now the Melissa every morning that he kisses.
EWN Traffic.
13 after 7 this hour. This news traffic is brought to you by SAA, connecting Africa one flight at a time, now flying to Perth in Australia.
Well, there's a couple of accidents that are caused by most delays at this moment. Bongani, if you're traveling in Pennyville, there's been an accident along the N17.
Maybe like in a
after
fight.
Canada Road, which causing heavy delays, and there's another one in the Ridgeway area on the N12 East. It
License,
happens Xavier Street delays coming out of M1 split, and the N12 West is also affected by the sea. If you do see anything else on the roads this morning, please do remember to SMS us on 3172.
Get ready to embark on a journey of endless possibilities with South African Airways. They are growing their route network to get you further. From the iconic landscapes of Cape Town to the vibrant energy of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Nigeria, Abidjan, and Kinshasa, just to name a few. And there's more. They've just launched their new route.
It's an appointment.
To the enchanting city of Bebeja. Whether you're a business traveler or an adventure seeker, SAA is your airline of choice. Visit flysaa.com or your nearest travel agent to book. SAA, connecting Africa, one flight at a time.
Sadly, at 7:30, certainly the story of the moment is the decision by the electoral court yesterday to allow former President Jacob Zuma to be eligible to be a member of the National Assembly. Was it Otto van Bismarck who said, politics is part of the possible. So here we are. The president who was at the helm when the state capture saga unfolded was convicted and sentenced to imprisonment, could make his way to be one of the lawmakers of the land. What does this mean for the MK party in particular, and how will it change the political landscape? I'm joined this morning by two political analysts who are going to speak to them at the same time to get their perspectives on whether or not this is going to be a game changer for South African politics. Please, Sandy Leswana is joining us this morning, but also Lukhona Mnguni, who for a long time was based in KZN. Lukhona, I'll start with you. How seminal was that ruling by the electoral court?
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning to your listeners. Very, very important judgment for this court order, because so far as the reasons behind the court order, we are not required until the court issues a comprehensive judgment that rationalizes its reasoning. But I think for the MK party, it's an important development, but also I suppose for jurisprudence, it's an important development, because remember, Bongani, the law, the constitution is very clear in terms of eligibility criteria, in that even if you would have at some point spent a prison sentence in jail, after 5 years following the discontinuation of that sentence, you are eligible to run for parliamentary office. I suppose here it may well be that the actions of President Ramaphosa had some impact in terms of dispensing with the 5-year waiting period for former President Jacob Zuma.
I mean, and to be clear, the reason we don't yet have reasons was obviously the urgency of the matter. The court saying 2 days ago they would issue their ruling electronically with reasons to follow. You mentioned the issue of the 5 years because, interestingly, it wasn't even the Mkoto legal team that raised the matter, but for me, it was a clear moment when one of the judges asked, hang on, if we were dealing with the 5-year lapse, it follows from the completion of the sentence. At what point would we calculate that completion? That was the moment I thought,
Calculated insofar as from a is concerned, the 5 years has definitely not lapsed. But I am sure that the court was probably persuaded that to an extent the record or the sentence having been remitted from prison.
Precisely. Just to be clear, precisely. I mean, of course, the 5 years hasn't lapsed, but what I understood the judge to be saying was, if we were dealing with the 5 years, we'd have to consider when the sentence was completed, and presumably then, if it applies in that instance, it surely should apply into the 12-month issue. I think that's the number what I'm getting at.
No doubt that he was sentenced to more than 12 months in prison with an option of a fine. The issue around the 5 years really becomes what I think will be a contribution to jurisprudence to say if a person is excused from their prison term by way of a presidential order, does that sort of automatically mean an expungement of their record? But as I'm saying, the reasons will be very interesting to read in terms of the law. But politically, if the MK finds itself in a good place, that former President Jacob Zuma can be number one on their list, they will use his face on the ballot. And he can campaign. Whether one is convinced that he will take up the seat as a backbencher stands to be seen. When you've been former president and then you go to the house and there's no opportunity. Some magical coalition arrangement. But I think it will be difficult even for the ANC to justify a coalition arrangement with the MK party.
Well, let's bring Sandy Leswana into this conversation. Were you surprised? Sandy,
yes, to a degree. Yes, I'm here for money. Thank you. Good morning. I was surprised and my surprise revolved around perhaps my simple reading of the situation that indeed there are people who are disqualified from participating in our National Assembly or even participating in the elections. And to me, Zuma would be one of them. So I was not surprised by the objection, but I was surprised by the decision. However, as we all say that the reasons for the decisions are not there, but right now politically, Zuma has won and he is in the game.
I mean, one of the things was, again, one of the judges expressing a concern that Jacob Zuma was being held to a sentence that no longer applied to him. There are some consequences in terms of this ruling, and yes, we will see the decision, at least the reasons, at some point later. What does the IEC do now? Because it not only has relevance for this case, but it may muddy the waters in terms of the IEC's mandate.
I've read a comment by Terry Delange. Apparently they had a similar case with Winnie Mandela and the IEC didn't win that case. So I think that the IEC needs to
uniform since it's been introduced to the machete and so on and on.
Exactly. Under what conditions are you able to disqualify a person?
Yeah,
and also the difficulty to understand this issue that a person will be disqualified by the National Assembly. For instance, we have an election now, call it 8 weeks, whatever, however you calculate the period. When is the National Assembly going to meet and determine whether so and so should participate in the election? I think there's still a lot for us who are not lawyers and who are not judges of the electoral panel. But I subscribe to this view what I there are people who are disqualified, and I don't think we should have an argument about that. Now, if Ramaphosa given the remission, you that as less than custom, or deleted the record, I do not know. But it appears that the 12 months that did not apply to at least, or they didn't have jurisdiction to deal with the
Look, I'm going to let me come back to you. Obviously, KZN will certainly be the stomping ground for Jacob Zuma and the Mkhonto Wesizwe party. The other complication is, as far as I know, he still remains a member of the African National Congress.
Yes, he does. By virtue of the ANC having suspended him as a member, but chosen not to expel him by, again, one of those bizarre political maneuvers where you put your forward an opportunity for someone to the organization. Which I've always raised the matter with some ANC folks to say that your constitution is very clear that a person who campaigns against the ANC or mobilizes against the ANC is clear subject for expulsion. But I think some point the ANC did not know how best to respond to the development of the ANC party and chose to tread carefully around it until they really realized the significant threat that it posed, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. You know, when you are dealing with somebody who is discredited Bongani, former President Jacob Zuma, for all the things that you said in your introduction, you can easily then think that they can garner political support, but he becomes part of the coalition of the women. It's just that now it's outside of the structure of the ANC. In 2007, leading up to Kulu Brothers, it was within the structures of the ANC. So the section has externalized itself to find a different home to commit an injury that it has not been able to do with the ANC, and that injury has been to dethrone of power in both conferences of 2017 and 2022 in Nasdaq. But now, knowing very well what matters most to the political party, which is political power, the ANC itself has a
Sandy, let's know if that really helps. What calculations would you make rating this time as far as what you might expect in 2029?
Which I mean, I've said this long before. Let us say, for instance, the game that every other political party, including the ANC, is playing is probably a 10% game initially, before this NK phenomenon, which is to say, you know, if you have 57% that you've had before, which means the game is about 90%. Can you protect that you don't fall below 50%? That game is over. Now you are headed towards the 40s or even 40%. Who is the best partner? The Marumo Simmons will be now advocating that, look, let's start to think about how we partner with the DA. Others will be saying, actually, we better partner with the EFF and MK. And that in itself is going to cause further divisions in the ANC.
It's making money, but what do I want to go on every weekend?
For the ANC, you go the EFF or include the DA tax. That is the only calculation in my mind that is now left.
Mguni, you'll have the last word. What political calculations should the Lords of Lutuli House be making now?
Well, I think they should really go on the offensive and campaign vigorously. They should develop a narrative that counters the propaganda of MK parties. What has really fascinated me from a politics point of view is the absolute ability to utilize propaganda by MK. I mean, they've created this narrative of distinguishing the ANC and the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. Counter narrative to that, because what MK has done in the minds of people is to isolate Ramaphosa as the problem. Who is there to whatever reason the ANC has no strategy out, there's no time, refining messaging, and of course, helping the expert Jacob Zuma. It really makes no sense why they would keep suspended status of the former president.
Do they have the gumption, I wonder? Mguni and Sandile Swana, political analysts, giving us their sense. Your take of that decision by the Electoral Court.
EWN Traffic.
This Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. Amu?
Well, Bongani, traveling in Bridgeway, we still have got that massive accident on the N12 East before Xavier Street causing heavy delays, and another one on the M2 West approaching the Crown turn off. It happened near Elof Street. Causing delays coming out of Heidelberg Road. I'll have more details coming up.
Insurance is saying they'll save you money on your car insurance, or you can ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand cash if they don't. Here's Fundi, 46 from Brackenfell.
I was not happy with what I was paying. I had about the 500 Rand from insurance, but they give me lesser amount for my car. I'm paying 523 Rand on my 2013, and I have 35.
So here's how it works. SMS out to 45142. We'll give you a no obligation car insurance quote. If the quote is less than you're currently paying, you'll end up saving money on your car insurance every month. And if it's more than you're currently paying, you can ask for 500 Rand. And if you've been with the same insurer and claim free for 3 years or more, tell us you want 1,500 Rand.
Give insurance a call. It's a win-win, you can't lose.
SMS out to 45142 now. That's out to 45142. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice.
EWN Business.
So, whatever the future is here, Microsoft investing more in artificial intelligence.
They have a heavy war chest and they are using it. Microsoft says it will invest $2.9 billion, or around 53 billion Rand, to improve cloud and AI infrastructure in Japan. The tech sector has been rolling out a series of overseas expansions to support the development of artificial intelligence. This is the company's largest investment in Japan, and the 46 years it's operated in the country. The funds will go towards skilling 3 million people in AI and setting up a Microsoft Research Asia lab in Tokyo.
Forget how long Microsoft has been around. Right, where are your indicators?
Well, the JSE was up only marginally yesterday, with industrials down more than 1%. But in your indicators, ran at 18 Rand 45 against the dollar. It's in the good this morning at 20 Rand 2 cents against the euro, and at 23 Rand 39 cents against the British pound. Price of gold up this morning at $2,357 an ounce, while platinum is down more than 1% at $978. Brent crude at $89.42 a barrel. More business after 8.
Time now for your latest Eyewitness News. It's still the big story of the day. Fiso Zulu, Electoral Commission. Do they respond?
That's right, Bongani, they did. It says it will seek legal advice on the latest court order in favor of former President Jacob Zuma. The Electoral Court yesterday ordered that the IEC decision barring Zuma from being a candidate on the MP list be set aside. His eligible to return to Parliament.
I repeat, the college was at the Koyan. Here, Koyan. Yeah, high check. Yeah. And again, I can't call it a young monkey to drive a
In order to understand the basis of the conclusions, it is important that the reasons are provided. The Commission says it will request that the Electoral Court hand down reasons.
The business rescue plan to turn around sugar refinery Tonga Hewlett is still on track. This is despite a spat that has left some bitterness in the takeover deal. The battle is between businessman Robert
I think I want to
Vision
negotiate
Consortium
with
and
Ataka.
losing bidder
Negotiate.
Executives of Vision have accused RGS of playing dirty, claiming the Mozambican company submitted a forged back letter in a bid to buy Tonga. Nolkayam Double has the story.
Vision Consortium, partly owned by Robert Gumede and Marumo, is close to finalizing a deal to take over the indebted Tonga Hewlett. Once the deal is finalized, Vision will have majority share of Tonga in a debt for equity swap. In a status update report, Tonga's business rescue practitioners say work is being done to ensure the successful implementation of the amended business rescue plan. Meanwhile, Vision is against RGS for alleged fraud over a bogus bank letter confirming the brand and the kitty for the takeover. Executives at RGS have allegedly denied being part of the fraud, instead blaming it on a junior employee. Vision has handed over a dossier of proof to police in Sandton for investigations. Eyewitness News.
In the Western Cape, thousands of pupils will return to school today in the Overberg and Cape Town Lowlands districts after staying home as a precautionary measure. Teaching and learning was halted in 2 districts on Monday and yesterday, and residents in these regions have had some reprieve from the rain. Education MEC David Maynard says some schools will remain closed due to severe infrastructure damage.
This will be considered by the department on a case-by-case basis through the normal procedures for requesting school closure. Schools with the necessary permission to close will communicate directly with parents.
And in the US, the parents of a teenager who shot and killed 4 school pupils have each been sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. A 7-year sentence was recommended by the prosecutors. The family are the first parents of a US school shooter to be convicted. Appeared together for the first time in months during yesterday's sentencing hearing, handed down by Judge Cheryl Matthews.
You and your agents may not have any contact with the families of Madison Baldwin, Tate Mayer, Hyacinth Juliana, and Justin Schilling.
Both parents expressed regret about their son's attack as their lawyers pushed to minimize their prison sentence.
This could be any parent here in my shoes. Even to be your child, to be your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, your brother, your sister.
I am sorry for your loss as a result of what my son did. I cannot express how much I wish that I had known what was going on with him.
The parents were each found guilty of involuntary manslaughter earlier this year. A fine day in store for Gauteng, becoming partly cloudy later. The temperatures are at lows of 6 and 10 degrees, peaking at highs between 24 and 25.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident reported on the M1 North. It happened near Boyson's Road, causing heavy delays. There's also another one on the M2 West. This one happened near Elof Street, slowing down traffic from Heidelberg Road.
The top story this hour, the IEC says it'll seek legal advice on the latest court order in favor of former President Jacob Zuma.
When you vote on the 29th of May 2024, you will receive 3 ballot papers. The blue national ballot is for political parties contesting seats in the National Assembly. The orange regional ballot is for political parties and independent candidates who will represent your area in the National Assembly. The pink ballot is for political parties and independent candidates to represent you in your provincial legislature. Vote when you are registered. Visit elections.org.za for more information. It's your democracy. Own it.
What is the best way to reach success? Is it best to go alone, so you can go fast? Or for many to go together, so they can go far? What if you need to go fast and far? At RMB, we believe the best way to success doesn't make you choose when both are possible. When you need a thoughtful solution for financial complexity, there are only 3 letters you need to know. RMB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
massive share of 3 million rand is up for grabs in the Hollywood Bet Spinner Zonke Jackpot Race. Bet for 2 rand or more from 8:30 p.m. every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night. Hollywood Bets, take a spin with us. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
For over 40 years, people around the world have been spinning and winning thanks to the Wheel of Fortune. Now it's your turn to take the prize as this legendary game show finally launches in South Africa. Weekdays, 7:30 p.m. on S3. Don't miss your chance to be part of history. Enter now on wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Proudly sponsored by Cell C.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi, Bongani. So if Zuma wins a seat in Parliament, is he an ANC member or an MK member? Because he hasn't resigned from the ANC. Something to think about.
Good morning, Bongani, to you and your team. Great show as always. You know, Bongani, people always say the law is clear until they interpret the law. Then you'll find that the law is not so clear. I think that was evident in yesterday's court ruling. From Victoria.
Bongani, I'm wondering if this court order of Jacob Zuma being allowed to contest elections is just kicking the can of riots and destruction a little bit further down the road. And the MK party has threatened to repeat the riots that we've had before. So if he'd lost this case, they would have rioted now. When they don't win the elections, which they seem to think they're going to, when they don't win the elections, I reckon the riots will just happen then. So we're going to have chaos. The court has just decided not right now.
To be fair to them, I mean, the fact that they went the legal route to challenge these matters indicates the position that they are taking officially. They, of course, would say that, look, you can't take the comments of 1 or 2 rogue members who are, of course, already facing consequences for some of the irresponsible statements and say that that's how you characterize the entire party would not be fair. So they've gone the legal route. You remember that's what Nhlamulo Ndlela said when we spoke to him, the spokesperson for the MK party. They've gone the legal route. Do you celebrate this moment and say, whether you like Jacob Zuma or not, at the very least, what he can't say and what no one else can say is that our courts are partial. That what we have seen here is that even though the idea of Jacob Zuma going back Parliament is unpalatable for many because, let's not forget, he is a convicted criminal, right? The courts have said, nonetheless, for whatever reasons that they're going to still explain, he can go back. And yes, you're right, that voice note saying that we sometimes think the law is clear. It's as clear as mud. Perhaps that's why you need the judges and the learned lawyers to ventilate these matters and to deal with them. What I think is clear, and I'll eat my words, I suppose, at some point. What I think is clear is that the ANC does need to expel him. He's not going
clients say about OutSurance.
My name is Alan. I'm 71 years of age and I live in Douglasdale. I'm paying 554 Rand a month for my 2022 Nissan Magnite.
Want a car insurance premium that'll blow your mind? SMS out to 45142 now for a quote. It's quick, it's easy, and it could save you hundreds of rands every month. Here's Amy.
To anyone who has not reached out to OutSurance, what are you doing? Reach out today.
Blow your mind, not your paycheck. SMS out to 45142 and see for yourself why OutSurance was voted Best Car Insurer 2023 by the Star and Pretoria newsreaders. Here's Yusuf.
It just shows that OutSurance is top of the tops when it comes to insurance.
SMS out to 45142 now. That's out to 45142. OutSurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice.
All things come standard in the Hyundai Grand i10. From electric side mirrors to rear park assist, you'll get all the nifty extras in this spacious hatchback. From only 3,199 Rand per month with zero deposit, you can enjoy more in the Grand i10. 96-month term, 11.7% linked interest rate. Brought to you by Hyundai Finance, a division of Nedbank Limited, and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
6 to 8. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Bele. Listen, I must just say props to KG Start the Clock. On the ones and twos there with that baby face mix. Proper. Well done.
Yeah, but he didn't go. You know what I mean? All right, I'll stop. All right, onto the world of viral content. The first video I thought was I thought I wouldn't be married to either of these people. This is how we sleep.
If you think about it, we all have strange behaviors when we sleep. But some of us need noise in the background to sleep, which puzzles me. I mean, I need to sleep in complete silence. And this video that we're talking about is basically a couple. They're lying in their bed with the baba, and the dog is on the bed as well. And when they go to sleep at night, they have to have white noise in the background. So it's basically that kind of noise just playing in the background. And if they don't have that kind of noise, then they battle to sleep. And then I go through the comments and I read all the comments, and people will say, oh, I need this and I need that. And if it's too quiet in the room, I can't fall asleep. Some people need the TV on. Some people like to have a little bit of fake rain and thunder sounds in the background whilst they fall asleep. So, yeah, I mean, let's put this one out there, Bongos, this morning and ask, what do you need in order to fall asleep in your bedroom? Are you like this couple? Do you need white noise or some kind of noise? Or there's something that you put on an app on your phone that makes some kind of lovely nature sounds or something like that, like crickets, in order to fall asleep? Or are you like maybe the average Joe? You just put your head down on the pillow and, God's your uncle. Out.
Yeah, I remember watching a movie some years ago in the 1990s. It was called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And one of the things was a journalist from New York who had gone to a rural countryside town in Savannah, Georgia. And he had a tape recording of the ambient sound in New York with the cars and the hooting and the madness of nightlife of New York. And he would play this tape to fall asleep in this quiet, sleepy town because he just couldn't adjust to sleeping in silence and waking up to birdsong and crickets and the like. All right, so what do you need in your room in order to fall asleep? And very quickly, Kawazela, what are you doing on your phone?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes you'll look at your significant other and you'll think, they spend so much time on that damn phone and they hardly look at me or talk to me. What are they looking at? What are they doing? So this woman posts a video of her partner. He's on his phone and he's obviously scrolling, and that thumb is going berserk. And what is he scrolling at? He's scrolling at Land Rover Defender videos and pictures and discussing, what's on sale on Facebook Marketplace. So she says she doesn't have to worry about her boyfriend messaging other girls or, getting into DMs of other girls because he loves and he's just besotted with Land Rover Defenders. And other people came forward and said, my boyfriend as well, he'll scroll on this and he'll do this. And it's mostly cars. People love scrolling through cars. So I wanted to ask people about their algorithms on their social media platforms that they follow. What do you get served the most? And it tells you a lot about what your interests are, right? So do you get served car videos? Do you get served beauty product videos, tutorials on how to do your hair, your makeup, golf videos like me? That's all that comes up on my feed sometimes. So what's on your algorithm? What is the thing that is being fed to you all the time on your social platforms?
All right, what does the algorithm feed you based on your interests? Because sometimes we think they're listening, and in fact, they're just, or at least the algorithm responds to what it thinks you want to see.
Yeah, oh, Uncle Bungles, oh my goodness. That mix, that baby face mix, oh yes. Wednesday, in fact, the week made. Yes.
702. Feedback.
With Clive Moahi.
Clive, are you seeing KG play all these voice notes? Are you seeing KG's playing all these voice notes and are praising him?
That was a good mix, though, I must say. I'll give it to you. Well, actually, I was just searching now as Kabazela is speaking. I went on my Instagram to see what's coming up on my feed. And I kid you not, it's because I've been in the market, on the market for a puppy. I've been Googling a lot of pictures of dogs, small dogs and stuff. And I've noticed recently, if you go on my Instagram feed, every second picture or second video is videos of little Yorkshires and
You search for one thing and they all come at you.
They just keep on popping. But listen, lots of reaction to the MK's victory against the IEC. Zuma cleared there to run for parliament. Some saying the ANC should really, really be concerned now, Bongs, especially in KZN. Someone else made an interesting point. They're saying at this rate, the party doesn't need to spend much on its PR campaign because, if you think about it, the party has been receiving quite a lot of media attention from since it was established.
So I said yesterday, tell me you're electioneering without telling me you're electioneering.
First it was the name, then it was the logo, now this. So yeah, but others saying, they really didn't see this one coming. I must admit, I also didn't see this order coming. And they're saying it's a pity that the Electoral Court has not given reasons for this order yet.
They will.
Because they're struggling to make sense of it all. Yeah, they will eventually, of course. I'm also curious to find out what those reasons are, Bongs. But very quickly as well, lots of reaction to the question we posed this morning. Motero was asking, how quickly do you adjust to change? The listeners are quite split on this one. Some find it extremely easy to adapt, but others just say, they just keep it moving. And they find it relatively easy and stuff. I must admit, I adapt quite easily to change. I've had a lot of changes in my life, change in career, moving house. We recently moved buildings here. I found it relatively easy to adapt to this new beautiful building. I always look at the positive side of things, really.
All right, more of your reactions coming up. And of course, if you've got the need for speed, we'll tell you what's happening in Kyalami.
This is Eyewitness News.
The IEC has been dealt another blow in courts, and there's action against the DA for its willingness to work with the ANC. Good morning, I'm Sviso Zulum. The Electoral Commission will have to set up more voting stations abroad following a court ruling in favor of the DA. The party took the IEC to court for voting to be allowed at honorary consulates. But the IEC's lawyers argued that these consulates are run on private facilities and have no state power. The DA's application comes on the back of South Africans in Perth, in Australia, not being able to cast their ballots at an honorary consulate near them. They have been told that they have to travel to the capital, Canberra. Somoto Modise has more.
The IEC has sustained 2 blows in the last 24 hours, with the Electoral Court making an order in favor of former President Jacob Zuma's candidacy and another in favor of the DA in its bid to have voting at honorary consulates. The opposition party had argued that some South Africans living abroad are hours away from consulates and high commissions and should be allowed to vote at honorary consulates. But the IEC flagged the impracticality of setting up voting stations at these consulates, saying they're not official state offices and it must first be determined if they can house a free and fair election. The court has ruled that the IEC's decision disallowing voting at honorary consulates should be set aside. This means the Commission will have to set up more voting stations abroad for the May election. Somoto Modise, Eyewitness News.
Saying with the IEC, the legal expert says even if it were to challenge a ruling overturning its decision to disqualify Jacob Zuma's candidacy to contest the elections, it's unlikely that it will be finalized before the country heads to the polls. The former president is currently the #1 candidate on the Umkhonto weSizwe party's list. The IEC upheld an appeal to his candidacy because he was sentenced to 15 months behind bars for contempt of constitutional court in 2021. But Zuma and the MK party then turned to the Electoral Court, which yesterday ruled in their favor, setting aside the IEC's decision. Benedict Wicks reports.
Reasons for the ruling have not yet been provided. However, the IEC says it will be requesting them so that it can chart a way forward. Dr. Llewellyn Kerr-Lewis says it is possible to appeal the ruling handed down once the reasons are provided.
Any decision can be appealed up to the apex court, which is the ConCourt.
However, Kerr-Lewis says there are other things to consider.
The question that must be posed, and that will be posed, is it so urgent that the ConCourt, or ultimately, and maybe the Supreme Court of Appeal, even before we get to the ConCourt, needs to be required to give a judgment and set everything else aside, purely to make a decision on this matter? I doubt it.
Kerr-Lewis says he doesn't believe there's enough time left to finalize this issue before the end of May. Bernadette Wicks, Eyewitness News.
Action SA has seemingly lodged an objection against the DA over its public utterances that it's willing to work with the ANC after the elections. Eyewitness News has seen an internal memorandum by the party's Michael Beaumont acknowledging the frustration of some over comments made by the DA's federal leader, John Steenhuisen. The DA and Action SA are part of the multi-party charter. Steenhuisen told the Mail and Guardian that his party has not completely shut the door on a coalition with the governing ANC. Beaumont says the guidelines of the charter prohibits parties from entertaining any thoughts of working with the governing party.
Action SA confirms the memo in question but will decline to comment further upon its contents, given that it was clearly intended for the internal consumption of Action SA structures.
And Palestinians in Gaza are marking Eid in the ruins of their old homes and hospitals. They've been displaced during 6 months of intense Israeli bombing that's already killed more than 33,000 people. The attacks were sparked by Hamas in the country's south, who killed over 1,000 people and more than 200 others were taken hostage. Muslims who want to go to the Al-Aqsa mosque for prayers today also face restrictions, as only men who are 60 and older and women over the age of 50 will be allowed access to the compound. Eid is celebrated by Muslims worldwide to mark the end of the month-long dawn to sunset fasting of Ramadan. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says he's saddened by all the suffering during what should be a time of celebration.
This is the day which every year I express to the Muslim community all over the world my wishes of Eid Mubarak. But my heart is broken to know that in Gaza, in Sudan, and so many other places, because of conflict and hunger,